So, hello, I'm Nitin Dahat with Aspen Core Media, and I'm here with Andrew Bickley from Arrow. Andrew, hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
So tell me, IoT, there's a lot more behind IoT, and can you tell me a little bit about all the sort of lifecycle management and the issues that you need to think about?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and thanks for the question. So I think IoT is this big umbrella name for a lot of things right now, and the way that Arrow defines it is under the banner of sensor to sunset. So if you think about it systemically, you start off with sensing and capturing data from something, a machine or in an environment, and then that data needs to be processed somewhere, which means you've got to connect it. So you connect it to a gateway, you do some edge compute, and you can take some actions at the edge, but then normally you're networking it up into a data center for some big data analytics. You're looking at the trends of data and you're learning from that, and then you're making business decisions on that. And ultimately you'll have some actuation flowing back down to the device. Now these devices or IoT systems will be in deployment for, let's say, 5 to 6 years. And over the life of that equipment, you've got to be able to do things like upgrades, firmware updates. I mean, there's even reports now saying that within the first 60 days of an IoT deployment, you need to do an over-the-air firmware update. So over the life cycle of that product, somebody needs to manage it as a service. And this is what Arrow's doing in terms of helping you authenticate, manage, keep devices secure. But at the end of life, which is going to happen to equipment, there is legislation which says you need to deal with equipment which is going end of life in certain ways. We have part of our business, which is a disposition service, which we will go in and say, look, before we install the new equipment that you need for IoT, we will help you decommission the equipment that you have.
Now, there's something quite important here, which I think people don't understand, is when you decommission something in that end of life, you really need to make sure that product comes out safely and securely and nobody can clone, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of equipment now which is accessing, very sophisticated systems with information. There's GDPR issues. So you've really got to decommission that equipment and sign certificates to say, I really have disposed of this equipment in a way where there is no security breach, there is no data which is being left, which is going to cause issues for privacy and business type security.
And are there any specific areas that you've been seeing Arrow getting involved with, or is it the whole diversity of IoT?
I would say there are some hot spaces right now. I think, you look at Brexit now. Brexit is going to introduce some supply chain issues. So asset tracking and having more accurate information about where your product is. And with all of the changes that may happen with Brexit, you've got to think about, I want better information about where my product is and where the delays are and how I can communicate with my customers.
And I guess another area of that is going to be smart contracts to make sure they can go across borders.
Exactly. So asset tracking for sure is a hotbed of what we're looking at right now. Predictive maintenance is the other one. People need to get smarter about, do I maintain, by frequency, do I maintain by event? So predictive maintenance is a hot area now. We've seen a lot of activities in smart cities, and a lot of that is good because it's being driven about the well-being of citizens and how do we improve the lives of people in cities. So, and building management, reducing energy costs, improving efficiency of buildings. They're the hot areas that we're seeing right now. But the biggest challenge is there's a lot of technology which needs to be glued together, which needs to work seamlessly. And companies have some of those competencies, but not all of them.
And that's where companies like Arrow can come in and provide that connectivity, the platforms, and then, as you say, sensor to sunset, so all the way through the life cycle of the product.
Absolutely. If you think about it, if you want to do an IoT project, you've got to be good in sensing, you've got to navigate through the wireless connectivity options, whether that's cellular, LoRa, or Sigfox. You've got to understand gateways and security software, and you've got to understand cloud. Not many companies will have all of those engineers, and engineers are scarce to get. And Arrow is complementing that, saying, well, we can do as much or part or as little of the system you need, but we have the core competence to de-risk your project and get you to the timelines that you need to do to launch into the market.
And manage it all the way through.
Absolutely, you're learning. Yep, we can manage it right the way to the end of life. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Andrew, thank you very much.
Well, it's been a pleasure, thank you.